Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Phil from Zaid Comics. I am the writer and co-creator of Magic Hop, which is in demand right now on Indiegogo, and just one half of the two best-looking brothers in all of comics. And
Oh,
today
that is so
we
true.
have
Oh my goodness.
we have a special guest today, comic artist master Joe Ball.
Yep.
How you doing, Joe?
Oh, I'm just happy I get to be in the presence of one half of the best looking brothers in all of comics.
Just one half. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best half though. I'm a little biased.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, Joe. Glad to have you here. Happy New Year. I think this is a perfect New Year stream.
Well, same to you, brother.
Yeah. And you are the artist behind Super Harem.
Yeah, that is correct. I'm
And
the guy that draws the pictures.
yeah, you make put all the action into that book. It's so badass. They just released, if you guys haven't seen it, they released the first chapter for all the backers to read. So you back the book, then you'll be able to read a good snippet of the story. It's got a lot of action in it, some awesome blood and gore. But Joe, this is not your first rodeo. You've been actually drawing for a long time, trying to get into the industry. And I always, start off talking about the person I'm interviewing, their background, getting into comics and art. So, would you like to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll give you the nutshell version and we can just take it from there. Basically ever since I was a child, a little Joe Ball, I would um I would draw comics. I would try to make my own little comics. I'd even, staple them together and stuff like that. Uh, I think my first experience with that kind of stuff was like Superpowers cartoon when I was a real little feller. And a lot of my older brother's friends had, comic books and toys and stuff like that everywhere because this was the 80s. So
Yeah,
my brain was being flooded with just cool stuff from every angle growing up. But I always liked comic books the most. And from that point on, I had one goal in life, and it was to make comic books. And was not smart enough to have a backup plan, but that's whatever. So I just kept on keeping on. And I mean, I still had to work, but regular day jobs. But I kept at it till I was about 17, 18, my last year of high school, and that's when I thought, I've got to really figure out how to get work into editors' hands, how to reach these people.
yeah,
Because at that point, the internet was still relatively new, and the only thing you could really get information from was like old issues of Wizard that would list the publishers' addresses to reach out to them, things like that.
sure.
So at that point, I started sending stuff out, and some of it just came right back to me because those addresses were, like 10 years old already and
Yeah,
stuff, and didn't even exist any longer. But and then I started going to conventions on a regular basis. I did that for like, I don't know, till like 2009 or 10, pretty regularly. So for almost, I don't know, a little over 10 years, I was constantly going to cons every year, all the biggest ones I could get to. Because that's where the editors were. Occasionally they'd hit smaller cons, like you could go to Pittsburgh, relatively cheap from where I live,
hmm
and that wasn't so bad, and it was a smaller convention. But I mean, a lot of times it was the big shows to catch these guys, so it was difficult, it was expensive, and I did that route for years, and it was tough because I would get good feedback, but I wouldn't really. No one ever said, "Hey, you want to talk about employment?" So it was very difficult after 10 years nonstop of doing that stuff to deal with that where you weren't getting anywhere with it. But in the internet age where things got fast and you could start sending larger files, stuff like that, the convention scene became less and less necessary, and I actually did a lot better just because I could reach you know hundreds of self publishers and small publishers now with relative ease. And from that point, my work finally started to pick up where I was getting, regular paid work,
yeah,
graphic design work, all kinds of stuff like that. Plus, I sat down and forced myself to learn how to use Photoshop and more digital means. So I wasn't restricted to just this guy trying to sell himself as a can draw pictures with pencils. Got
yeah.
better at looking, got better at digital. And, yeah, the rest is history pretty much.
Yeah, having more weapons in your arsenal is always, the best. That's the why one of the reasons I'm doing lettering, just not just be a writer, but have some more opportunities out there for me. That's great. So, yeah, so basically you were trying to get, your work into editors' hands, going kind of the textbook way through the formula of how to become a comic pro and get your stuff out there. Um, how was that process for you compared to what's going on now in your life?
I mean, I'll be honest, there were a lot of times it wasn't bad, it was good. I think I was too young and inexperienced in some cases to understand really what the editors were telling me sometimes, because there are points in your life where artwork can look really good to you, but that's
Hmm.
because you're only old enough to know what looks good right now.
Right.
And it took me a while to realize, like mistakes I was making were legitimate, and these guys weren't just blowing smoke.
Hmm.
And I did correct things over time. It took me a little bit, but eventually I just didn't even question them. I would just react to whatever they told me, unless it was clearly, every once in a while, like you could tell a dude was just irritated in general. He was
Yeah.
mad before you ever walked up there. But these days, working within Comicsgate, people in Comicsgate have a lot higher respect for good artwork and things that take a lot of time to do and detail work. And that's kind of like, that's lost on the mainstream. Not in every case, but the majority. There's a few guys that are really good that still get the royal treatment, you could say. But
Right. Yeah. In the mainstream, it seems like it's kind of conveyor belted and like streamlined because you're doing, a book a month or multiple books a month and you got to get it out. So you
yeah,
lose that kind of, tender care that you would get in an indie book. And I mean, that's where I think you strive because we're looking at this panel here. There's so much detail in this panel. And this is a page that has two panels on a page, which you're never going to, almost never going to see in a mainstream book, a page with two panels, unless it's a splash. But, you get that a lot in manga, and I know that's a big influence on you, but you're putting so much detail in each panel, and it comes out looking great. And I think that's what's given you a lot of notoriety in this, network.
well, thank you, man. My favorite artists were like Michael Turner, John Byrne, Mark
Hmm.
Silvestri, George Perez, a
Sure.
mix of high detail artists between the 70s and the current era. And those guys were, I would look at John Byrne work and I would just be like, his hatch looks so good. How's he do it? And I'd think the same thing about like Michael Turner. I'd be like, how's this guy making things even better than I thought they could be? Like I remember when I was probably, I don't know, I'll say 14 or so. I saw an issue of Witchblade, and it had already been out for a little while,
Yeah.
a few years, and so I was a little behind what I was looking at, but I was looking at it thinking like, how's this guy do this? Like the digital color was so good, the
Yeah.
line work was so good that I couldn't even figure out like how it worked. I was like,
Yeah.
how my brain couldn't wrap itself around like how you got from point A to B and produce work that looked like that. And it was weird because I always thought I was really good growing up, and those were the moments when I was like, I'm not good,
Yeah.
not compared to these guys. I'm nothing. So I've really got to work hard if I ever want to be in that echelon of people.
Yeah.
At one
Sure.
point I got so full of myself, I thought someday I'm gonna go take Michael Turner's office from him, like,
Yeah.
like stupid things like that. And you know, I don't know why, because I thought the guy was amazing. I met him a few times. He was one of the nicest people I ever met, and I don't know. I think it's just when it drives you crazy to know someone's so much better than you that you've got like 20 years of catching up to do.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm gonna say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Just Rican in his comics. Got Mandy Summers, of course. Hale, Joe, not Joe Frago. Sorry about that, brother. In the chat, bunch of guys. K Dog. Thanks for coming in, Simon. Daniel C. Thanks for being here. We are talking to Joe Ball, the artist behind Super Harem. Now, actually, your you're the second artist because the writer Wenger used to do this as a webcomic. Am I correct on that?
Yep. Yeah, he originally had drawn and put out a good portion of the story already. Like I kind of had a very a very easy time putting a lot of that first chapter together because Winger had the groundwork already there. I mean, it's a little different than what he did in terms of, sometimes we added a little, sometimes we took a little away
Yeah.
or switched angles that something was drawn at, but overall, if you look at his originals and you compare it next to these pages, you're going to find that it's still very much Winger's story. It's still very much in the manner of how he originally laid it out. I just kind of take some things and exaggerate them.
Yeah, so here are Wenger's originals when he was doing the webcomic and did a bunch of the layouts like you were saying. And you can
Mm-hmm.
actually, there's a tier on here where you can get both, correct? You can get
Yeah,
his original comic
yeah, you
and
get the ash can version of his, and then the version of mine.
that is awesome. I love to see that. There's just the comparison. So you can see with these big fights, very cartoony in Wenger's style. And then we go up here, look at this hyper detail of these monsters that Joe puts in here. It's amazing. And, you think this is awesome. If you guys back the book, you get to see that first chapter, and this is all colored and it looks great. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
Farah does some excellent color work on it and really takes it to the next level. Gets it to where I couldn't with just pencils and inks.
Yeah, I'm a backer of this book. And if you guys back and catch Wanger on stream, he'll actually dab for you. So
Mm-hmm.
shake him down for those dabs. And this book basically, do you mind? You want to pitch it, or you care if I pitch it?
You go ahead, and I'll just add on too if need
All
be.
right, cool. Yeah. So the thing that pulled me into this book is the comedic elements and storyline to it, but paired with Joe's art style takes it to a whole nother action-packed level. It's about this guy named Tim who's just your average guy. He kind of doesn't have the best luck in the world. And but he has the unique thing about him is he has this superpower where any woman he has sex with he gives them superpowers, so they get your Superman strength. They could fly, and during the storyline, one of his long running girlfriend, she becomes this superhero of the city named Valkyrie. Then she disappears for a while, and he gets hooked up with this kind of trashy girl that's crazy, and she becomes the next superhero. And at the same time, when these heroes use their powers, it opens up kind of a portal to this dark dimension that release these giant monstrous kaiju that run amok in the city, and these chicks have to battle them.
Yep. Yep, that's the general premise. It'll continue into the next chapter with some really fun battles. I don't want to give away too much, but there will be more monsters. There will be more fighting and action, and it may not always be between a monster. It
Ooh.
could be between some angry women. So we'll see where it all goes. But I think you're gonna the first chapter that you're gonna get, while there is a lot of action and it is over the top, the next chapter is really gonna be that kind of like times 10. So you guys are gonna be really happy when you get this book finished.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like you were saying before, Farrah's colors in this, it really brings out even more of your detail. Separates the blood from the background, so you could see how much gore is in here. Really, really top action. You get this beat up chick here after she gets smashed by a tentacle from the monster. It's just high paced, high T action in this book. Which when you listen to the pitch, it doesn't seem like that, but I think your art style with Wenger's writing and story go perfectly hand in hand, and it takes it to the next level. Whereas when Wenger was doing it on his own, um, didn't take it there.
Yeah, well, he's he's good at what he does
For
for
sure.
comedy comic books. But this is something where I thought, like when we were talking about it originally, months ago, that I thought it could be even funnier to a degree because it's drawn in a serious manner for a
Yeah.
book that's supposed to have, comedic value to it. So that's kind of was my mindset too. Like if I just draw this like I would any other comic book that falls into the realm of superhero or things of that nature, a Western comic book,
Hmm.
um, it can add to the funny and it can give it an air of believability because you've got this, you can really see the effects of what's happening. You can see the blood and gore spraying out of these animals, these giant monsters. You can see these chicks taking a beating and they're all scratched up and beat up, but they're still going. Just it gives it a little something extra to balance all of that out. So
Yeah, for sure. It's something that I thought was really comical that that I read in the first chapter, and I wanted to highlight it for a second. I don't want to give away too much of what happens, but when he meets, who's the chick with the purple hair? What's her name? Sorry.
that's a journey.
Yeah, when he meets Journey, they're at this party and they play a game of beer pong. And I wanted to pull up that scene here because it's so intense. It's hilarious. It cracks me up where she's throwing the ping pong ball, splashes into the cup. That is like what you're saying, having your hyper detail and your art background, bringing it to these panels, it just enhances the scene and lends for even more comedy, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and anyone that's hypersensitive about beer pong, it's good to make that funny
Yeah.
to to make it over the top because that's the thing too. Like I know one of the big problems we have with modern comic books is there's too much like sitting in cafes talking about themselves
Yeah.
and giving each other affirmations.
Hmm.
Like in small doses, I think we can all admit that's fine. We've all written or drawn something that was a calm scene where
Hmm.
you just for the story you had to have people doing something other than punching each other.
Right.
Um, there are ways to go about that that still make stuff entertaining, and it doesn't always have to be like streak lines everywhere like I did. But you can choose those ways to do things that are simple things that are not real actiony and still make them entertaining. And I feel like we accomplished that and Super Harem for some of the slow moments here and there, and then made sure the action moments were so over the top that it all worked out. You never felt like you're getting gypped at any point.
For sure. And even down to, every panel that you do is just enhanced by your art here. When they're drunk, that is all your art, all your line work for their blurriness. And I read this and I'm like, man, was that added like in color or Photoshop? But I was talking to you and you're like, no, you have the originals of all that blurriness on there.
Yeah, I drew the drunk vision because most people would just like copy and paste the line work and just move it around.
Yeah.
But I knew the original line work had too much going on in it,
Hmm.
so I tried to just work around it and recreate it as best I could. I was just like, okay, these none of this is so hard that I can't kind of redraw it, but draw it off enough to where you get the idea that these people are getting progressively drunker each panel. So
Right. And it works perfectly. In my opinion, that is kind of something without this would be hard to convey because then I'm going to have to write dialogue where they're slurring their words and, maybe you do something with the lettering what makes them look drunk. But you and, Farah, the colorist, like killed it on here. They're very blurry, opaque colors. The transparentness of the other, drunk vision hit it right on the nails. That's kick
well,
ass.
I'll tell you, every once in a while, I'll think to myself, like, I hope she handles, this panel okay or that
Hmm.
scene okay. And I've stopped even doing that because as soon as I saw this page colored and
Yeah.
I saw how well she handled the Drunko vision,
Yeah.
like perfectly better than I could have if I was digitally trying to do it myself.
Hmm.
She got it all just right for kind of how your eyeballs start to work when you're getting too drunk. And but from that point on, I just everything she did, I trusted it, and everything that popped out that she's pumped out has just been even better than I could imagine. You know, she handles my line work well, and I
Yeah.
feel bad for her sometimes because my line work's not always easy to deal with as a colorist. You know, it's when you've got an octopus squirting organs and innards and blood all at the same time, it starts to look a little weird. It turns into a mess. So the fact that she can see everything I'm doing without me telling her, because the only thing I've ever had to tell her was the color of Cecil's mask in a scene where he's in the back.
Yeah.
I've never had to tell her any other thing. I mean, I'm sure Winger's probably told her a few things just so she knew what colors to work with, but
Yeah.
she's never had to be like, "Hey, what's this? What's that?" And most people would be trying to figure out at least a few of my panels because I do get carried away.
Yeah, it's a good team. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I know I've gotten a lot of new subs to the channel recently. I'm Phil, the writer on Magic Cop from Zade Comics. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're interviewing my boy Joe Ball, who is an amazing artist on this book called Super Harem that is on Indiegogo right now. So you could hop over there, check it out. We'll be talking about it for a little while longer. And the book's basically about this guy named Tim who, when he has sex with girls, those girls become superheroes. They get superpowers and like Superman. But at the same time, when that happens and they use their powers, these monsters come to Earth, and they have to protect Earth from it. So it's kind of a comedic, action-packed comic here we're taking a look at, and it is funded right now. It's in demand. Joe is working on it every day. You know, Joe and I hang out all the time. You know, I'll do lettering for my book while he's drawn Super Harem or a bunch of other projects that he's working on. You know, one of the hardest working creators in CG right now. You have a lot going on other than Super Harem as well.
Yeah, and you know, I appreciate your kind words. It is a bit much trying to juggle everything right now, but generally, if I keep a certain pace, you know, I can keep the quality work coming. Because that's the catch: is you don't want anybody to get handed something that looks rushed, or like you didn't consider it because you had too many other things on your mind. So I'm trying to be sure to give everyone the best that I can give them for every panel, every page. You know, I don't.
Sure.
I really try hard to not do anything where I regret it later in terms of artwork.
Yeah. Dude, 2020 is going to be crazy with all the stuff that's coming out from CG and everything that we're putting up on Indiegogo. We got, you know, Super Harem, Magic Cop's coming out, CG Jumpstart, which I know you have a big role in there with some stories. You got multiple stories in that, right? One of your own and one you're working on with GAT.
Yeah, I'm doing Bullet Maker with GAT. That will be one of the War Campaign Crew's you know, one of their flagship books along with Vestige and other things they'll probably work on. Jumpstart will be in that mix as well, but in terms of just a solo book. So we've got the preview pages and all that stuff that's already done. I believe the colorist is working on them now, but for all I know, he could already have them done.
Yeah.
I haven't checked in with him in a little bit, but yeah, they're getting that wrapped up for Jumpstart. I'm trying to get the finishing touches on Death wrapped up because we're gonna have a 12-page spread of that in the book as well. And I'll probably kind of keep it there in the magazine for the time being. We might compress all the pages together into graphic novels down the road, but that's, you know, not a mega concern. I just wanted to be able to get my own pet project out there in a way too, but this allows me to do it in small chunks where I don't have to move away from any of the paid work. You know?
For sure, yeah. It's Jumpstart's going to be awesome. If you guys haven't heard about that, it's basically a magazine style, you know, kind of a cross between Wizard and heavy metal. So you got a bunch of stories in there, comics from indie creators, and you know, some previews for up and coming long running comics, and a lot of editorial stuff as well. So keep an eye out for that. I wanted to touch on this little poster that Wenger had Carlo Rowe do a pinup for. You guys can actually get this part of the campaign. Carlo Rowe, of course, the artist behind Death Sworn and
Hmm.
these super sexy babes here. These are the chicks with powers, right?
Yeah, you've got all three of the main gals there. The Umbrella Girl, she will be more towards the end of the book, but
Cool, yeah. We haven't
the
seen
other
much of
two are
her.
kind of your main ones. Because this will move right in. There's another story Winger's already got planned afterwards, so character introductions will be kind of a thing as long as this book goes on. There will always be some new people to add to the mix as it moves
Sweet.
forward.
Yeah, Tim gets around, I suppose.
Well, and it's just the mind of Winger, man. He's got so many cool characters he's cooked up over the years.
Yeah.
He's going to launch his All Drake book here, I would think, as soon as Super Harem's wrapped up.
Yeah, I saw him working on that, showing some stuff off about that. That's awesome.
And his art's getting better and better all the time. Like I've seen some of the panels he's doing right now,
I
and
agree. Yeah.
it's just his hatch work's moving up, his detail work, all of it. Like he's really taken his style and moving that up to a point where it's getting more refined. So it'll be a lot of fun because his books are fun too. Like there's a certain comedic value he can portray with his style that I can't. I'm just
Mhm.
not. There's certain funny things he can do with exaggeration that just hit home in a different way. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for him on that front too.
Yeah, same that, he's been posting some new stuff. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. It's a different art style. And like you said, the characters he comes up with are really, really unique and cool. And it'll be awesome to see him show himself off as an artist because, a lot of people just know him as writing Super Harem and the creator of this book.
Yeah.
But
So Winger's been around for a little bit too. He's been doing web comics for a long time.
yeah,
He's been writing for a long time, so there's a lot of good stories pent up in that guy's head. I can't wait to see it all come to fruition over the course of the years.
for sure. So let's talk about the two tiers that you guys have up for your in demand on Indiegogo here. Where you got your $25 and you get the book, and that is the physical copy of the book. And you also get the mini poster by Carl. Oh, cool. So it comes with the poster as well. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And then your $75 tier, which is the book, a sketch card by you, Joe. That's awesome.
It'll
And
actually
then
be a 9 by 12 drawing, so they're getting the hookup.
oh, damn, that's awesome. And it's going to be a character from Super Harem?
Yeah, you get to choose when you buy into the tier which of like the I think it's like the 4 or 5 main characters you want.
Sweet. And then you get that mini poster by Carl again, and the special Super Harem Ash Can, which is the kind of like the smaller web comic of Wenger's style of art.
Yes, yes. So you'll get to see the pre-production all the way through to the finished product in one form or another.
Yeah, that's the one. If you guys are fans of collectibles, and most of the comic fans are, I would get the superhero pack with that ash can because not a lot of those are going to be out there, and in the future down the line, it's going to be worth something because there's such a small amount of that ash can, and it's so cool. You could see basically it's like the making of Super Harem because Wenger sent Joe that basically all the layouts for the
Yeah,
comic.
it was a good guide to go by. You'll find out too when looking through that and comparing it to the final product that I there's some pages I did almost exactly as he did them.
Yeah,
And then there's some where I went really off the rails and kind of went bananas. But yeah, it'll be cool like that because you'll get to see a true collaboration, I would say, like top
right.
to bottom.
Yeah, and that's the great thing working with comic artists and a writer is that collaborative effort. Putting some of yourself and another person into a piece of art to make something amazing. It's like working on nothing else, I would say.
Well, yeah, and it's a good it's a good thing for a lot of reasons. You know, it helps you. You need to be able to work well with other people if you're going to be
Mhm.
involved in this kind of stuff. If you don't plan on always just doing everything yourself.
Right.
Um,
And it's another set of eyes on,
yeah,
your stuff. Someone could catch something you don't see or look at it a different way and it becomes better.
yeah, I agree. It's definitely it's good to teach you a lot of things you may not have thought about otherwise. Because
For
I mean,
sure.
I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm still learning all the time. Like, I don't think
Oh,
there's a true end to it. I think it's just if a person always wants to be good at what they do, they're going to be forced into the situation of learning for their entire life.
oh yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, so if you guys are interested in Super Harem, uh, like I said, it's 25 bucks. You get the book and you're supporting some awesome creators. These guys are putting their heart and soul into this book. It's got comedy, it's got action, it's got babes. Joe draws some of the best babes in comics right now, in my opinion. So pick up the book. And if you don't mind, Joe, I'm going to talk about Magic Cop for a little bit and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. All right, Magic Cop. This is my comic book that I'm writing. My brother's doing the art for it, and we got other artists on here. We got Pablo Romero doing the cover. So this is, as you could tell, super 1980s. It's basically Miami Vice mixed with Halloween Town, um, and it follows a wizard detective named Ignatius Cromwell. This is his first case on the job. He has to partner up with a wolfman who's on the verge of retirement as they investigate the murder of a mermaid prostitute. There's a lot more people on the team, like this leprechaun giant named O'Hara. We got Sexy Helly, who's a witch, and just a lot of fun here. Mashing those two genres together, that crime with fantasy. So if you guys are interested in this, we are funded but in demand, still trying to reach our 150 backer goal so everybody can get our synthwave, theme song that we made for the trailer. Everybody's going to get that. And we are well ways into this. Just started the fourth chapter of the book. This thing is a big book. It's going to be 88 pages. Um,
Whew.
so yeah, and we're scheduled to have this shipping starting in March. So definitely check this one out. We'll have some free. It is fun stuff. Putting a lot of hard work into here, and everybody is going to get a blockhead of Magic Cop when they back the book. Even that did those digital tiers, they'll get the printout. So check it out. We'll be posting updates all the time as we are. And if you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe because we do updates every Monday on Magic Cop Monday. So, yeah, thanks for coming out, everybody. And Joe, thank you for being here. Where could everybody find you online when they're looking for your artwork and more about Superhero?
Well, thank you, Phil, for having me. I appreciate it, brother.
No
You're
problem.
always kind, and I always appreciate that. Um, you can find me on Twitter as Joe Ball. Um, I don't even remember my at name. That's pretty sad. I'd have to go look. But yeah, just look up Joe Ball. My stuff's pretty obvious.
It's in the description below. I think it's Comic Art Master 1.
Okay, sweet. Thank you. I appreciate you for being prepared, Phil. More than I was. But
Hey, thanks, Honeybee. Hope you check out the comic.
oh yes, thank you. It's you'll love Magic Cop Honeybee. You got to buy into it ASAP.
Thanks,
But
bud.
yeah, thanks for having me. And I think Magic Cop is going to do spectacular. I can't wait to see it.
Thanks,
You
bro.
guys are very passionate about what you do, and I appreciate that because you don't take anything for granted. And you're both, you and your brother are both smart young fellers. So it'll be cool watching your success as well.
Thanks. Yeah, so follow both of us guys because Joe and I are actually working together right now on a future project that's coming out next year. Getting that set up so we could show that off. We're really excited about that.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Some cool, pirate action and skeletons and all that fun actiony detail that Joe's so good at doing.
And Phil's a gym rat, so he's pushing me to the limits with the pencil. He's screaming at me on a nightly basis. He's berating me into being a better human being.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's Phil doesn't he doesn't go easy.
Yeah, I
I'll
don't
tell
mess
you.
around. I don't mess around on my projects.
He-
So,
he's a
uh,
vicious beast.
yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and we do these streams every week, so hit that bell for notifications so you guys know when we are going live. And we will